Okay, hi James.
Hey Antoinette. So everybody's here. We're ready whenever you want to get going.
Okay, is the presentation back up?
Yep, we're up. People can see it. We made sure Lisa and Meredith can both see it. So I'm assuming
Okay,
everybody else can see
excellent.
it. Thank you for verifying.
Okay, well, thank you for joining us for our webinar today. As James said, we're going to talk about setting your homeschool space up in a Montessori style. And okay, sorry, James, I am not seeing the presentation on my screen, but that's okay. I'm just gonna step through. Okay, so I am Antoinette LaGrossa. I have been with ShillerLearning. Okay, and Lisa can't see the screen
Hmm,
anymore either.
let's see here.
And can you do it?
Let's see here.
There you go. If you can just do the
We'll do the full.
slideshow.
We'll do everything. Entire screen. See it now?
There we go. Excellent.
Okay. Sorry about
Perfect.
that. Oh, I
Uh, okay. I was going to say, now I'm seeing an echo.
Yeah, exactly. We'll figure this out eventually. We'll figure this out. That's
Okay.
one of the Montessori principles: learn from mistakes. So,
Yes. And so now, just like when you encounter a misstep in that 3-period lesson, we'll just go back and start from the beginning.
that's right. That's right. What is our presentation? This is our
Uh,
presentation. Uh, what is or yes? What is our? This is our presentation. Uh, you may show me the presentation. And what is this?
and this is me. I am
Yes.
Antoinette LaGrossa. And I have been doing Montessori inspired homeschooling for 16 years now. Been at this a long time. I've been with ShillerLearning for 14 of those years. On the next slide there is you see some notes with Maria Montessori. Her popularity is worldwide. Maria Montessori was an Italian doctor who created the method working with kids with special needs. And then it was quickly found that these methods benefited any child exposed to them. And so now it's used for gifted, special needs, and everyone in between. And studies have shown that children who learn using this approach outperform their peers. Now, Montessori educators receive special training. It takes a long time to get Montessori certified. Enter Larry Schiller. Schiller Math founder and president. There he is. There's Larry Schiller, MIT math genius. Larry worked with child behavioral education and Montessori experts at the Princeton Center for Teacher Education to make this empowering method more accessible to families everywhere, regardless of budget. And what Larry did was to bring that method into a scripted curriculum that you can use in the home without knowing Montessori, without having to know the subject matter either, and without having to do any lesson preparation. Okay, so why do a Montessori style space? A Montessori space is open, inviting, age appropriate, and empowering. You'll see one of the hallmarks of the Montessori space is that open shelving where the materials are on display and easily accessible. And the items are going to be placed at low levels, so it is age appropriate. The materials, they are colorful, They give concrete, real-world experience. And the Montessori method is such a great natural fit for homeschooling because it's all about personalized education, meeting the child where they're at, and then advancing them in their development and learning. Okay, so let's talk about this one. Actually, we're going to go, James, if you can just skip ahead to the next slide. There we go.
This guy? Okay, perfect.
Yep, that one was out of place. My apologies for that. And so in the Montessori classroom, in the Montessori environment that we can create at home, we're not going to have busy work. That's another reason that one of the benefits of homeschooling is that we are able to skip a lot of the busy work that fills up the school day. And so we're going to make sure that the bulk of our time is both motivating and important to the child. And in this method, it's going to ensure that indeed that happens. Okay, so let's talk about that open shelving. You do not have to have expensive shelves. You can go to IKEA and pick up a $20 bookcase to achieve these goals. And what you want to do is have, in lieu of all of the tall shelving, the lower shelves. If you want to do tall shelving and put your materials that you want just the parent to have access to, maybe in a cabinet above it, that's another option. But inexpensive, open shelving. Okay, so how can you create a Montessori-based language arts kit at home? This is our Language Arts A kit, and that's going to be for the first 2 years of language arts. That's when the child is learning to read, beginning phonics, beginning grammar. And the base of all of our work with Montessori is going to be the work mat. This is the workhorse. And you can see we use a really soft, nice feeling Velux work mat. You can use anything. It can be, again, an inexpensive placemat from IKEA or a small rug. Or you can go to a fabric store and get a piece of material from there. And then on that mat, onto the next slide, you can see how that work is going to be laid out on there. And whether it's math, language, music, a lot of it is going to be done on the work mat. The work mat defines the workspace, helps promote good work habits, because at the conclusion of each lesson, you're going to instruct the child that they may put away all of the materials before going on to their next lesson. Once the child has done this a few times, they're going to get used to that, and you'll be able to even shorten that instruction to simply put away. The next thing that you're going to want for your language kit is a movable alphabet. The Montessori movable alphabet is color-coded into red for consonants and blue for vowels. This color coding is going to make the vowel patterns more easily identifiable and easier to learn. It's going to help speed up the reading process. Now, the ShillerLearning kit, Language Arts Kit A, has the movable alphabet. It's a 155-piece wooden alphabet. There are many sources for the movable alphabet. You can even create one yourself by printing and cutting out those letters. It is 155 pieces, so it would be a bit of cutting, but it's certainly something that you can do. Now, I've got a cool storage solution for that 155-piece alphabet. You don't want to just put that into a bag. It would make it too clumsy for the student to be pulling those pieces out. And so from the dollar store, you can get for $1 a 2-pack of ice cube trays, which gives you 28 compartments, which is the perfect amount of spaces, because for your I and J, you also have little dots that are separate from the main part of the letter. And so you're able to have compartments for those also. And then you can just place those ice cube trays into another, in this case, this is a wooden tray that I have there. You can get other dollar store trays, inexpensive IKEA trays. So there are ways that, you can pair those dollar store items with our materials or the materials you're making on your own. And then that just goes onto the shelf. And when the child is ready to do work with the movable alphabet, whether it's learning the sounds of the letters, learning to identify those letters, or beginning to read and create words with those, they just carry that tray, place that on the work mat, and start with that lesson. And then you can see on that a word spelled out on that work mat with our movable alphabet. The movable alphabet, one of my favorite things to do with that is to create lists of rhyming words. And so with having 5 of each consonant and 10 of each vowel, you're able to do lists. And so, for instance, along with pen, you can then put under that den and 10 and create, and so forth, to create list of rhyming words. So that is one way that kids are going to work with phonics, reading, and spelling. Another material that Montessori uses in many different disciplines is sand trays. I'm going to give you a great tip. Save yourself the sand cleanup. As you probably know, sand is a pain to clean up when it spills in your house. ShillerLearning, in our language arts kit, we include quinoa, and we use that in lieu of the sand. This goes into either a tray or a shallow, wide bowl so that the child can trace out in the quinoa the letters or the numbers. And this way, they're getting the practice of that letter formation without the frustration of early writing. Another activity for pre-writing are the Montessori insets. You may recognize those. They're the pink and blue shapes. They have a knob on that blue inset part. And by picking up that knob, it's going to be developing fine motor control, similar to the action that kids are doing when they're using tongs. And we're going to talk about tongs a little bit later, some more in the practical life section. And so those same practical life activities are also helping to develop the fine motor control and manual dexterity that's being developed with the use of these insets for the pre-writing activities. All of those works are helping to develop the pencil control that kids need for writing beautifully without that frustration of sitting with a pencil in worksheets. Another item that is used for, again, developing that manual dexterity and fine motor control is Play-Doh. This is another item that you can place inside an inexpensive dollar store tray and put on your shelf. The benefit of having this in a tray, too, is that it gives a workspace to use the material without getting the Play-Doh on your mat or on your carpet. So I do recommend a plastic tray to hold the Play-Doh because that's going to give you an easy to clean surface that you can roll the excess right off of. And again, this is used similar to the quinoa to do letter and number formation. Working with Play-Doh, especially for kids who have some fine motor delays, the Play-Doh is excellent for helping to develop those skills. So they're getting the learning exactly the formation, but again, they're not having to do that writing. So our open shelf for language arts is quickly filling up with these materials. So those are the materials for the younger age group. And then the next level of language arts uses a whole different set of materials. This is our language arts B kit. This covers generally ages 6 to 8 or 6 to 9. This is going to take you through working with 9 different parts of speech and even writing a play. So let's take a look at what's going to be on these shelves. This is another manipulative for phonics and spelling. So just like the movable alphabet was color-coded into red for consonants and blues for vowels, our circle kit is a new form of that movable alphabet for the older child that they're going to create in their own handwriting, still following that same color pattern to make those vowel patterns more easily identifiable and more quickly mastered. And so the child is going to write onto the alphabet pad that you see, the paper with the boxes, the letters for a word, whether it's going to be in print or in cursive. We do teach print and cursive together. It's actually easier for a child to learn cursive right from the start rather than what most programs do, where we teach them print, which is short, choppy movements, as opposed to the natural, flowy movement that is used in cursive, which kids do in doodling. So that's their natural tendency with a pencil. We spend a couple of years teaching them the short, choppy movements of print. And then once they're finally good at that, then we say, okay, now let's go back to flowy and start teaching them cursive. That can be frustrating. And by teaching them both together, it's going to be easier to learn cursive. And the brain science on cursive is amazing. When you write something in cursive, it's actually storing information in parts of the brain that it wouldn't have gone otherwise. So the things that you're writing in cursive, you're going to remember longer and more easily retrieve that information. So let's take a look at, which I did not know any of that about cursive until ShillerLearning was doing the creating the language arts kit.
Absolutely, yeah.
So
It's just to follow up on that is the number of strokes is what helps a lot, because if you do like a B, like a lowercase b, it's 1 stroke for the top piece and then the second stroke for the B. But if you do a cursive B, it's 1 stroke up, 2 strokes down, and then 3rd stroke up to the end, and then a 4th stroke for the tail. So it's yeah, absolutely, and Schiller does that really well.
Yeah, and I was always in favor of continuing to teach cursive simply for the benefit of kids being able to read historical documents. It's important to not lose that, but it turns out there's all of these other things that happen when you do use the cursive. So on the screen here, you have an example of what that looks like. So we're spelling the word pen in cursive, and the foam discs, they have a slit in them. So you can see that they are on a stand here, but they slide right onto the edge of a table or desktop. And so the kids are going to be able to create their words right on the edge of their workspace. And then you do get a dozen of those foam discs. And that's something that if you don't have our curriculum, you can easily make that yourself. You just have to source some blue and red pool noodles and get yourself a box cutter and do some cutting. Just be careful.
Yes, and it's actually pretty fast too. So
And you do get a dozen of those, so they can create pretty large words with them. The next material that's going to go on your language arts shelf for older kids are the grammar symbols. Montessori has found a way to make even grammar hands-on and fun. And so in this box here, there are actually 9 different parts of speech. The triangle, the black triangle in that mid-right, that is the grammar symbol for a noun. And we can take a look at what that looks like on the page. And so right in our books, it'll have sentences where the kids are then going to take those manipulatives and place them onto that part of speech. This is a beginner lesson where they're identifying nouns. And then that is going to take them through being able to diagram, pull out 9 different parts of speech in the sentences. If the wooden grammar symbols are not in your budget, you can simply create some shapes in a Word document and print those out on cardstock. The grammar symbols that are included with the ShillerLearning Language Arts B kit, they are beautiful, thick wooden symbols in that divided wooden box, and it even has a wooden lid that goes along with it. So that completes your shelves for the language arts. Now, with the circle kit and the language arts kit, you don't need extra trays to go along with those because we're including the trays for those, that the child is able to very easily carry those works over to their work area. So let's put together your math shelf. Ideally with this, you're going to have another one of those open shelving units. You could put them all into one, but it is advantageous to have things very openly spaced as opposed to crowded on the shelving. It's more inviting for the child and easier for them to find and retrieve the materials that they need. This is our math kit for pre-K through 3rd grade. Let's take a look at some of the materials in here. So coins. You're going to want coins as well as paper money in your local currency, but it's also a really great thing if you can get it in international currencies as well. One of the many added things in the ShillerLearning Language Arts is that it covers geography as well as additional languages for saying hello and some basic phrases in multiple languages and also talks about international currencies. So our math lessons do cover US money, but it's a neat thing to add the international currencies to that. And again, an inexpensive tray from the dollar store is going to hold your coins, your money, and any ancillary currencies that you want to add to that. Time and calendar. You're going to want a clock. The Schiller math clock is geared so that when you move the minute hand, the hour hand is going to move like a real clock. I highly recommend going with a clock that works that same way. It's much easier for the kids to work with than a clock that the hands are moving independently, and it loses that dimension of being able to see how the minutes ticking by, what effect that has on the hour. Another thing that you're going to want, we do have calendars in our lesson books, but you're going to want to have a calendar hanging on your classroom wall. And again, the calendar, that's something that you can, pick up a glossy color calendar from the dollar store. Let's talk measurement. We've got into this tray can go your measuring cups, measuring spoons, rulers, any of your measuring tools. The measuring cups are used in the math for volume and pouring water from the smaller cup into the larger to see how many of those will fill that. You can also use those materials in your practical life activities where there's also a lot of pouring and activities with water, such as washing the leaves of plants. Again, those practical life activities are going to develop that fine motor control and the manual dexterity that they need for the pencil control. At this point, I do just want to ask, is the pace of the presentation, is this okay for everyone? Just let me know if we're going too quickly. If anyone has any questions, do put those into the chat box. We work questions into the presentation as best we can. We will also have a Q&A at the end. So anything we don't get to during the presentation, we will get to at the end. Oh, one note. ShillerLearning uses a clear ruler. May seem like a really minor detail, but I cannot tell you how impressed I was with how much more easy it is to measure with a clear ruler as opposed to the 50 other rulers that I had in my house before getting Schiller Math. Okay, you're going to want to have a balance for showing inequalities. And go with a pan balance so that you're able to put manipulatives into the sides as opposed to the balance where you can hang things. That way they're able to work with either their golden bead or the decimal material. Okay. Cindy, that is a great question about how to do this in a small space with limited storage. If you don't have other things under your sofa, that is going to be a great place to put your trays. And so what you can do is get those underbed storage containers, and you're going to use those in lieu of your open shelving. And so you can have that large underbed storage container and place in there the different trays. And so the child is able to when it's time to do their work, just pull out that larger container and it'll be like looking at, two of the shelves all in one fell swoop. So there are definitely ways that you can modify this to be done in a small space. We have a family of 8, and up until a couple of years ago, we had very little space. And so that the under the sofa storage was a great thing for us. Another thing you can do, there are rolling carts. And you may have seen, if you've been to a homeschool convention, you've seen these. It looks like a milk crate on wheels with a handle. And there are aprons that you can purchase to go inside of those. Or if you're handy, you can sew one. And what that does is it puts pockets on the outside. And if you can do a clear pocket, that's even better. And then you can wheel that into a closet, bring it out when it's time to do the work, and it could have either the math or the language arts materials. And again, it's, everything's right there, easy to see, easy to retrieve for the child. Okay, and so we were talking about using your decimal material or the golden bead material in the pans for showing inequalities. And we're going to go ahead and take a look at that place value material. These are the materials that Montessori uses to teach place value, and then for doing 4-digit addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. Now, if you already have golden bead material, that's great. Golden bead is absolutely beautiful. Schiller math is used in some Montessori schools, and I've had the pleasure of observing it being used with the golden bead. Absolutely fabulous. We use the decimal material because golden bead is rather expensive, and that would place the price of our kits out of the budget for most families. But if you do have golden bead, we also offer a Kit 1 Basic that doesn't include the decimal material, so you can use our curriculum along with what you already have. So you've got our decimal material includes the wooden tray to hold that. You're also getting the wooden trays for the number cards and the number tiles. So you just want to put those on the shelf in a grouping next to each other because they're almost always going to be used together. So you just want to locate those in the same place. Then you can create a math facts tray. And into that tray, you can place your dice, the dominoes, and the foam ball. Those are the 3 materials that we're using for math facts. And with the tray also makes a great place for rolling the dice. It's going to keep the dice from going too far. So when they're using that, make sure that they're rolling that with the tray. The dice you're going to use for addition, subtraction, and multiplication. So that's one game that you can play for practicing math facts. Using the dominoes for addition and subtraction, that's one of the activities that you see in the ShillerLearning curriculum. You can also, in addition to using the dominoes, and those are on the next slide. In addition to using the dominoes as they are in the lesson books, you can use these as a flashcard. And this was one of my kids' favorite drills, favorite ways of practicing their addition and subtraction facts. So you go through the whole box, and this is a double 9 set. So this is working on facts up through 18. And hold up the domino and have them either add or subtract it. If you're using them for subtraction, you just want to make sure that the larger side of the domino is going to be on the left for the child. Then if they get that answer correct, you're going to give them the domino. If they get the answer wrong, that domino is going to go back into the pile, and they're going to have another shot at that math fact. Then once the child has gotten all of the dominoes, it means they've worked through everything correctly. Now they're going to have time to play with them and set them up, knock them over, whatever it is that they want to do with them afterwards. I found that my kids wanted to work through the math facts part of this as quickly as they were able to in order to get to that playing part at the end of it. So there are off-label uses that you can do with our materials. And again, the balancing of the dominoes, that's going to be developing their fine motor control. Now, let's talk multiplication facts. Our favorite way of practicing the multiplication facts is going to be with the foam ball. We start off with sequential skip counting, and we're going to toss that back and forth. So let's say we're going to do twos, and they would have already learned multiples of 2 through other lessons prior to this. And this is the way that we're going to practice them. And so you're going to say 2, toss it to the child. They say 4, goes back and forth. 2, 4, 6, 8. Once they're good with that sequential skip counting, then you're going to translate that to times tables for them. Now you're going to say 2 times 1, toss it to the child. They give the answer, toss it back. Now, this is a light foam ball that's not going to knock over anything in your house. So I would really recommend, if you don't have our kit, to go with either a foam ball or one of the blow up beach ball type things. That'll also be light enough that if you're tossing it in the house, you're not likely to knock a lamp over or something like that. So once the child is good with that sequential times tables within the families, then you start mixing them up. 5 times 7, 6 times 4. 2 to 5 minutes a day with the ball is going to get that speed, accuracy, and recall that we're all looking for without the drudgery and misery of endless days of worksheets. So a ball is definitely something that you're going to want on your math shelf. Okay. The fractions kit, we are using fraction circles. The books also use linear fractions, so the student does get the benefit of both learning modalities, but the fraction circles are the manipulative favored by Montessori. And you want not just a single set. Most programs, if they're using a manipulative for fractions, only use a single set. Well, that's great to show what the fraction families are, but you're not going to be able to do a whole lot with them. By having 2 sets, and those 2 sets can go onto a single tray so that, again, the child can just pick up that one tray and take it to the mat when they're ready to do their fractions work. And then with those 2 sets of fraction circles, they're able to do operations, add, subtract, multiply, divide with the materials and see why it works the way it does before we try to transition them to dealing with fractions abstractly. The use of those fraction circles, the 2 sets, is going to prevent the fraction frustration from ever setting in the first place. And fractions do tend to be the bane of a child's math existence. And we can change that with the right multisensory approach. Along with the fraction circles, they're going to be using, again, the measuring cups and the foam ball for fractions activities. So a lot of the materials are multi-purpose across kits, as well as transitioning over into practical life activities too. Okay, so we just set up our lower elementary math shelves. We do have a kit for upper elementary also, and that's going to be a separate set of materials. For time purposes, I'm not going to step you through that simply because I think you get the gist of, putting the materials onto the shelving for easy retrieval, the kind of things you can use to do that. If anyone has any questions about that, just let us know, and I'll be happy to answer those. And Lisa, yes, you can use the ball, by the way, for addition, subtraction, and division. And our lesson books walk you through doing it for those operations also. Okay. And the parts of speech for the other shapes, James, do we have everyone's email addresses for people who have attended that we're able to send out the list of shapes and parts of speech?
Yeah, we can send it out to everybody. We can include that in a note at the end of the.
Okay, excellent. Yeah, let's do that.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, excellent. Okay, so then you can have your upper elementary math shelf. Okay, and here we go. Okay, practical life. This is such a great fit. This is one of the parts of Montessori that is just a perfect natural fit for homeschooling. And the activities found in this area of the classroom provide real life experiences for children, which we are all about in homeschooling. The exercises in practical life provide purposeful activity, develop fine motor control and coordination, develop independence, concentration, and a sense of responsibility. So let's be sure to include this because, our kids are capable of doing so much more, so earlier on than many parents realize. And so you can have a toddler who helps prepare his lunch, and you can see that on the next screen there, that by including age-appropriate activities, Montessori kids, they're not going to need those adulting classes that are now everywhere. Why do we need to teach a 20-year-old how to pack their lunch and get ready for the day? It's a very strange phenomenon. But you do not find that with Montessori kids because we have guided them right from the very beginning at 2 and 3 years old to be as independent as possible, as early on as possible. James, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I was gonna say, does everybody hear? It sounds like your mic's coming through a little bit staticky. Does anybody
Okay.
hear that?
I will try not to move around. I am a hand talker, so I tend to not be still while I'm talking. But thank you. I will try not to do that. Oh, okay. Is it Meredith? Can you hear me better now? And wondering how you can assess mastery with the concepts. Marissa, we're actually going to talk about a tool towards the end of the presentation that's going to help you do exactly that and make that classroom management super easy. Oh, I sound underwater. Okay.
Yeah, just maybe unplug and replug in the mic.
Okay.
See what that does. Be just a minute here, everybody. Thank you all for waiting through our technical difficulties here. I hope this has been really valuable for you guys. What would you guys say is kind of your top takeaway so far from this? Do you guys feel like you could go home to you could get off the webinar and go to the dollar store and start using this right away? Do you guys feel like this is valuable? You feel like it's something you'd use in your homeschool? Let's see, Antoinette. Antoinette, are you back on? Not yet. I'm gonna exit out here real quick. Let's go take a look. Awesome, thank you. Yep, perfect. No problem, Marissa. Yep, very good. Yes, yes, Lisa, absolutely. It's definitely it's definitely not as hard as it looks. And I know it can feel overwhelming, especially when you look at um, some of these videos on YouTube. So yeah, absolutely good. And we'll send you out a list of materials as well at the end of the webinar in the follow-up email. So you guys will have the slides as well as a list of materials, so you guys can basically just print it out, go right to the dollar store, go to Walmart, and be able to start using the pieces that you want. So yep, absolutely glad to hear it, Michael. Antoinette, are you there yet? See if we can hear her now. Intimidating. Yep, it definitely feels hard. Let's see here. Absolutely. Yeah, motivating the older kids, especially. That's one thing that we're actually going to be working on is bringing in kind of new manipulatives and trying to do more curriculum for kids that are older, in the middle school to high school range, because that's definitely something that we've seen. It seems like Montessori, everybody thinks of Montessori, they think of younger kids. And we're actually trying to bring some of the hands-on manipulatives for older kids, because we found that older kids, learn really well. You have kinesthetic learners, you have tactile learners that learn really well when they have manipulatives, especially for things like negative numbers and let's see here, pre-algebra, whatnot. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to load up a video for you guys. This is a video that we had recorded from Montessori teacher. Her name's Anitra Jackson. She's the blogger behind Chronicles of a Montessorian. So we're gonna go ahead and show you that video right now.
Hi everyone, this is Anitra. I'm a Montessori trained teacher, and I'm going to show you how to use the Schiller math learning kits along with inexpensive trays and other materials for you to complete your Montessori homeschool. And I'm going to show you to do it without breaking the bank. So the main goal when implementing Montessori in your homeschool is to provide as many opportunities as possible for your child to be independent and a self-learner. First, I will show you a language shelf with ShillerLearning Language Kit 1. If you notice, you will see that the materials are paired with inexpensive trays and other supplies in order to complete the shelf. Next, I'll show you the Schiller Math Learning Kit shelf, where there are various Montessori materials ranging from counting to patterns to decimal system. Also using inexpensive trays and other supplies to complete the shelf. Next, I will show you how to use these everyday household items to make an amazing practical life experience for your homeschool environment. Simple things like beans, peas, cotton balls, even stickers can be used to help create an amazing practical life experience for your child. After watching this, I hope that you can now confidently incorporate Montessori and the method in your homeschool environment. Lastly, if you found this video helpful or you would like more information on how to implement the Montessori method in any environment, please subscribe to our channel. Thank you for watching and see you again soon.
Okay, so that was the video from Anitra Jackson. She's a certified Montessori teacher. She's got over 16 years of experience, and she basically kind of walked through some of the practical life materials that we wanted to kind of go through on the to sort of supplement the kits and help you in your Montessori classroom to let's see here. I'm just going to go ahead and go back to my screen share. In your classroom, again, building some of the fine motor skills. Let me see here. Play from current slide. Oh, this isn't what I want. Go all the way down to the bottom here. So yeah, that was Anitra's video. Again, you'll be able to see that later. It's also on our YouTube channel, so I'll send you out the link for that. Antoinette, are you back on? Are you able to share with the rest of the team? Okay. Let's see here. I guess Antoinette is having some technical difficulties with Webinar Jam. So I'll go ahead and finish this out. Is there a list of trays and what each should include? So yes, we do have a list. We have a list of all the materials that you guys will have. We designed it so that you could go to Walmart or the dollar store or really any craft store like a Michael's or Joann's to be able to get these. Some of these you can find, right in your grocery store. Beans, some pencils, glass bowls, plastic bowls. These are things that you could pick up on your next trip to the grocery store. So it's pretty simple for you to be able to use in your homeschool. And then being able to actually create, like getting the trays together. Same story here. You don't need to have something really fancy. It can be as simple as what we showed you guys in the video, something plastic like you'd have like for lasagna tray, or if you really want to have it something, if you have a lot of kids and they're really hard on materials, I know I was, then getting something more durable like, a wooden tray like this, or even a baking pan, like a shallow baking pan, like for either cakes or brownies. Those also work really well. They're a little bit louder, but they last a long time, and your kids can be hard on them without worrying about breaking them or having any issues where they don't last as long as you want. So other than that, we recommend just one thing to always keep in mind is always having some patience and taking a little bit of a moment when you're having kind of either a down day or things aren't coming to you right away. Just take a moment, take a deep breath, and really remember that you're on the right path, because following Montessori isn't something where you need to have it all learned and perfect the first time. It's designed to be a system where you go through and you make mistakes and you learn from them, and your children learn with you as you're going through this. So it's something that, once you have the basics down, you're 90% of the way there. 90% of life is just showing up. So it's something that you can very easily recover from if you don't have it perfect the first time. And don't be hard on yourself when you're going through this, because this is something that your kids are going to learn from as they go, and it's not going to be perfect, but as you go through, you'll get better and better at it. And by the time that you've had 15 years of experience like Antoinette, it'll be kind of second nature, and you'll have parents come up to you saying, "Wow, how do your kids learn so fast?" Or how do they do as well as they do? And you'll be able to tell them, "Hey, I started out just like you." So that's everything I think we had for you guys today. If you guys have more questions, I'll go ahead and go through this. The grace and courtesy activities, let's see here. Courtesy activities, I guess Antoinette had something planned for this. We can actually go through this later. We'll follow up with that. And also, baking pans are great for magnetic activities. I forgot to mention that. So if we are all good here, do you guys have any more questions? I know we've got a bunch coming through here. We tried to answer them as much as we can. Antoinette had to switch out her mic. Unfortunately, wasn't able to do that. Oh, one thing I do want to include actually is that we have a special offer for everybody here on the webinar today. We actually wanted to offer you guys a 10% off and free shipping on Amazon. If you guys want to look at our kits and take a look, and if you guys are Prime members, you can also get free shipping right away. You can get 2-day shipping that's free. We're on Amazon Prime. Our fractions kit, language arts A, language arts B, math kit 1, math kit 2. So if you use those codes that we just presented to you guys can actually get those for 10% off and free shipping. So if you guys are interested in getting a kit, highly recommend that you get one when you're first starting out. That way you don't have to buy manipulatives more than once, or you have to, you learn that you get into a lesson, you're like, oh, I need the foam ball to go with this, or oh, I really need the Dominos. It's really designed to be a one and done kind of a kit, where you buy it all at once and it lasts you for 3 years, for all the kids in your family. So want to offer you the 10% off today. It's a really good deal for everybody, especially if you have a lot of kids and you want to teach them in a Montessori style. So with that, I think we're going to go ahead and just answer. If you guys want to stay on and have more questions, we're happy to answer. We kind of gone through and taken a look at it. And I know Antoinette's been typing in the chat. Unfortunately, we can't talk right now, but thank you so much for coming on today. I really appreciate you guys coming on and being a part of this webinar and learning about how you can implement Montessori in your homeschool. I know it's something that I personally would have loved to have had growing up, having a Montessori education, but these are things that I learned later as I became an adult in terms of how to learn and how to best absorb material. So thank you all very much for showing up, and we'll do a follow-up email with the list of materials, with the video as well from Anitra. So if you want to go back and see that, and the replay. And Antoinette, is there anything else that I kind of forgot in this? I know that we have, the grace and courtesy activity. We'll also include that in a follow-up email for everybody. So thank you so much for coming. I'm really excited for you guys to get started implementing this stuff in your Montessori classroom, or in your soon-to-be Montessori classroom. So thanks a lot. And Antoinette, unless we have anything else, we'll also include the tracking sheet. That's also very helpful. Even if you don't have a Schiller Math kit, what you can do is you keep track of the lessons, you have your child sign off on it. It's actually a really good activity for getting buy-in from your children, really having them own their learning and really feel like they're the ones who are kind of driving it. So again, these are all materials that we're offering for you guys for free, and we want you to learn and to take this back to your homeschool and really, mold your children, shape your children into kids that are going to love learning for the rest of their lives. So thank you all very much. And Antoinette, unless we got anything else, I think we're going to go ahead and end the webinar. I think, Antoinette, you've got the keys to the castle there. Is that right? Okay. Yep. Thank you all very much. Have a great one.